Well, hey, on today's episode, I am joined by a good friend of mine. We're talking about life and music and the creative process. Come on, welcome to the show, Matt Scheall. Awesome. All right, well, we're rolling. Hey, today I've got with me Matt Scheall. Matt, dude, it is good to see you.
You too,
man.
man.
It's been like when you walked through the door, I was thinking about it. I was like, man, it's been like a couple of years since I've seen you. I don't know if I've seen you since I moved back to Lakeland years ago.
No, the last time I think I saw you was literally, from what I can remember, was literally at church.
That's
and we
probably
just like dab
it.
each other up, like, hey, what's going on, man? Like, what's up? And then next thing you know, like, because we have each other on social media, and I'm like, see, like, you guys are moving. I'm like, well, dang.
Yeah. Oh, so it was like before we left.
We had interacted briefly, and then you guys, moved, and then I don't think I've physically seen you
since we've been back.
You've been
it's
back,
been like
but
3 years now.
Yeah, it has been. But I, obviously I keep track on social media, so I'm like, oh shoot, like they're back.
Hold up. Oh, okay, here we go. We're back. All right, little mic accident there.
Sure.
Cool. But yeah, dude, we've moved back. Yeah, we moved back in like 23, and since then we just this year had our third kid, dude. So
That's amazing. Congrats.
We're busy. Yeah, I feel like at one point, if somebody would have said like, oh, he just dapped me up and then ran off real quick at church, I'd have been like, oh man, I should have stopped and talked more. But now I'm like chasing three small humans.
No, seriously.
One of them I'm have to carry. One of them is like 8 weeks old right now. But that's about every interaction I have at church right now.
I'll be honest. I mean, if it was just a quick dab interaction, it's probably because me and the wife are running late.
Yeah,
and we're just trying to like, hey, yo, it was good, like.
I feel you, dude. But you guys, we probably miss each other too because you guys go to the later service.
We go to the 12:30. Yeah. We actually were before the 6 o'clock ended. That's where we were going, and then now we're at the latest one you can go to, which is the 12:30.
That is that's pre-kids life.
Yeah, exactly. I know we're
trying
to squeeze it, squeeze it, as much of the sleep in, which is actually we're trying to get into a better rhythm because, like, you would think that us living so close to the church would be so on time, and then it's like. Nah.
Oh no, it's okay, dude. Enjoy it, especially like kids are not at any means. I don't mean this as like getting into like, oh, they're a burden or anything like that. But my boys, just as wild and energetic as they are, they wake up at like 5:30 or 6 a.m. just with like full energy, ready to go.
Yep.
So the first service of the day just makes sense for us. I'm like, I got to get you out of this house and go do something.
Yeah.
And church just happens to be a great excuse for that. So.
For sure.
Well, dude, it's good to see you, man.
You
like,
too.
let's catch up since it's been a couple of years now. What's kind of been big for you over the last few years?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I would say probably, definitely career change or going into more of a career, buying our first house. That's probably that was actually one of the bigger. That's always a big deal in general. You know what I mean? When that
was
happens.
It recent you guys bought it? Or?
Yeah, about, I want to say it was 2 years, or it happened 2 years ago on Christmas Eve.
Wow.
So it's been, a little,
what a time to buy.
A little over 2 years. It was kind of a crazy process, but God made it happen, but we were able to get in. And just super grateful, man. We did a lot of house hunting for like a year, beforehand, and then that didn't work out. And then there was like some issue with my credit. Actually later to find out that there was wrong reportings on my credit. So I don't know.
Who knows how long that had been there?
Yeah, it had been there for so long. And then so like whenever we got connected with our broker. He kind of just, long story short, like referred us to this one attorney that he knows out in Brandon. And the whole idea was just to like, because whatever was being reported, like I was like, I don't even know what that is. And then he looked into it and was like, oh yeah, like we can take care of it. And then they did more digging and they realized that like, oh shoot, like somebody reported something falsely on your account.
Oh dang. Yeah.
So that was a whole
ordeal there.
Whole case right there in and of itself. But by the grace of God, I was like maybe like a 6 month, kind of 7 month journey with it. And then they we actually were on our honeymoon at the time, and then we got a call from the attorney. It was like, hey man, like everything's squared away.
Great news
and, like,
to get.
Yeah, I know, right?
Because
because what happened was like we weren't able to. We only could qualify for so much, and it really wasn't like. I was like, I don't want to look in that.
And
range.
2 years ago, the rates were still pretty high.
They
right?
were. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So it was like, what even. I mean, we really didn't really qualify for that much, but even then, there wasn't really much out there in that range that was like worth it.
Yeah.
So whenever we got that news back, immediately when we got back, we our price point changed, which was great.
It's awesome.
And we were able to we had more purchasing power. We were able to kind of like, look into some different places, and not that it was like crazy, but it was like,
but it gives you more options.
It was more options.
Yeah,
you know
man.
what I mean?
And that's a huge thing, especially being married and like want to come back to a place that you actually enjoy and feel like comfortable at.
Especially for your first house. Like you don't want to,
100%, dude. Yeah. We actually just closed on a house a week ago.
Dude,
so,
okay.
Yeah, we're moving this week actually.
No
so as we
way.
record this podcast, like in a couple days, we're packing up all of our stuff and moving into our new house. But
that's incredible.
Dude, yeah, the housing, like I don't know how to solve it, but like the housing, like the difference in buying a house now, especially Central Florida, as opposed to, I think Madeline and I bought our first house in 2018-ish, somewhere around there.
Okay.
And dude, we were like making nothing. We were like, we worked both at like, I think one of us may have still been working at a coffee shop, and the other one, I maybe had just started working at, or maybe it was vice versa. Maybe I was still working at a coffee shop and she was working at Southeastern. But either way, it was like so easy to, at that point, to buy like, I think we bought like a 4-bedroom actually house. It was a little bit of a fixer upper, but like we bought like a 4-bedroom house, and it was like nothing, not to be braggy. It was just cheap at that time. It was really cheap. And now, dude, that house that we bought for like next to nothing is probably, I don't know. I don't want to say double, but it's probably up there.
It probably is though. Like
of just like how much you would spend a month to have a house like that.
No, literally, like I mean, there were like looking at some of the houses, like how is this worth this much?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like you said, a lot of times it's like there's a lot that you still might have to do to it. And so, that was kind of like, we were kind of in that weird like middle ground, I feel like, because the interest rate was like, we got in, it was like 7.1%.
Yeah.
So, which is high. I mean, in the market, I feel like in the market, I'm not a housing expert or anything like that, to say the least, but you're looking at, your options are still not as like, you don't have as many options as you probably could have if it was the other way around. But then again, like the houses also probably would have been worth a lot more too.
Yeah,
so it's just a weird game. I feel like
it's a tough one right now, dude. Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting in the next couple of years, dude. Something's got to change if like Florida is growing so much with. I just feel like so many people are moving from New York or California or Washington or wherever and moving down to Florida.
Yep.
And with the amount of people that are moving down that are going to need a place to live and they just can't afford a house, like they're either going to see, which we're already seeing that in Lakeland. Actually, there's so many apartment complexes and stuff like that popping up. Like people are just going to, like apartments are going to be booming, or like little, condo communities and stuff like that. Or just a lot of new builds, which is actually what we did. We were like, a new build now. It's just
for the new one.
It's just like a new build is so much more affordable than like we love the charm of like some of the historic homes, but it is what it is now, dude. It's crazy.
I know. We were even thinking, this is just something that we threw up in the air, but at some point, because the new church is being built, and we actually were thinking about this before that location was even secured. We always like to be close to wherever, not that it's that far away. I mean, it's not
but what you do often.
But and so, but for us, we're kind of in a busy, it's not super busy, but we definitely are at the point where like, it would be nice to get something maybe more south on a little bit of land. Not like acres and acres, but just like enough to where you're not,
but
like
you
on
can
top.
dream. If you want acres, get you some
that
acres.
is true. That is
true.
Yeah, get a couple.
You don't gotta minimize yourself here.
That's true.
Dude, honestly, save it. I wish that's what I would have done. Well, we sold our house in 2021 when we moved, and God, I wish I would have saved that thing to like be a rental or whatever.
Airbnb.
I mean, yes, dude, it would have been I mean, dude, the amount of mortgage I paid back then was like nothing compared to today.
That's where yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. That's my little bit of like financial advice. I'd save that.
But I mean, like, you didn't know. Like, I feel like there's also times where, like, I mean, my father-in-law, he owns 2 Airbnbs in Lakeland that me and Monica both manage. It's kind of his retirement plan. He's looking to buy a third one. But I would have never known anything about that industry until we started getting into it a little bit more. And then he's always telling us, like, no, don't sell the house. Like, just, if you're going to, like, because now that world, it's like now you can kind of like, use that as an advantage. You got 2 mortgages technically, but if you do it right and you
have somebody else pay for it.
Exactly.
And get you some money. 100%.
Because he was just having conversations with him, like, his basically like those Airbnbs are also paying for itself basically. So it's like you're, in good seasons will profit, you know what I mean? And things like that. So sometimes it's just better to not sell, but it also depends on your situation. You know what I mean? You can't,
Yeah. Well, dude, how has, now that you and your wife, remind me your wife's name again?
Monica.
There we go. Yeah. Now that you and Monica have your house, how has that been? Just kind of like being married for the past couple of years and getting into the swing of things, life in Lakeland.
Dude, it's been really good, man. I mean, it's definitely, sometimes we still pull up to the house and we're like, I can't believe we own this. You know what I mean? Because for so long,
it's a good feeling.
It is a good feeling, because for so long you're either renting or, you're just doing the I would say, even way before we met, like you're just trying to get by budget, you're out of college and you're just trying to like, figure it out. But man, I mean, it's definitely been a huge blessing. I mean, like I said, we've been there for 2 years. We've been married for 4. And so it's just really nice to be able to have our own space to like, kind of like just create more memories, like build life together and just have a place of our own that we, can eventually like, build a family. Like, I know we don't have kids yet. I feel like we gotta catch up a little bit, but
how old are you again?
I'll be 33 in June.
Okay. Yeah.
So she's 28.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're not like, you can't, obviously I say that jokingly, but, about catching up. But obviously God's timeline, we talk about it often though. I mean, we're not like not thinking about it.
Yeah, but dude, there's something really nice about, unique about, for me particularly, is all of my family members going back, especially on my side specifically, and actually my wife's side too, but my side specifically, my great grandmother's still alive.
Okay.
She's like early 90s, I think, and then my grandparents and then my parents. All of my family had kids at like 20 years old, 20 or 21 years old. And kudos to them. And there was parts for sure that I enjoyed about, like, it was cool to be like, I was 13 when my dad was like 33. Like, so imagine being your age right now and you have like a teenager.
That is kind of crazy.
That's like, 13 is what? You're middle school, maybe going close to high school-ish age?
You're about
to be a freshman in high school.
You're about to be, yeah.
Yeah, so there was cool parts about that, having a young dad. But for me particularly, I really enjoyed that, like, Madeline and I got like, let's see, Leo's going to be 5 soon. We're almost up. So yeah, we had about 4 or 5 years of like just the 2 of us. And like, it was, it was nice.
Well, how old were you when you guys had y'all's first?
So I was, let's see, I'm about to be 34. Leo's about to be 5. So was I 29? Yeah, I was 29 when Leo was born. And
is Madeline older or younger than you?
By like a little under a year.
Oh, okay. So you guys are pretty close.
Yeah, so we're really close. Okay. Yeah, so she'll be 35 at the end of this year. I'll be 34 in August. But but either way, so our oldest is 5, about to turn 5. Our middle is going to be 3 this summer, and then our youngest is like 8 weeks. But either way to say, like, I think that less about the age thing, I think more about like the preparation of your marriage thing is kind of the bigger thing for me, I'd say. Because then you guys have had like, all this time to build some kind of like foundational pieces for your marriage. I just can't imagine, dude. And I'm sure there's people who could do it and are doing it very successfully. But like getting married and having a kid the very next year, I'm just learning so much.
I mean,
at one time.
That's the other thing. It's like just personal experience. And again, like, it's all you come together. You got to make sure you're both on the same page and everything, of course. But I know for me, like I'm not a rushy type of guy.
Yeah.
Like I do not rush. I try not to, but for the most part, like the way that my life has been, like I try not to be impulsive. And I'm just kind of like, okay, like where are we at right now? And again, I'm not trying to be all like, oh, it's got to be done a certain way or it's got to be this, calculated thing. Cause sometimes it's just like, hey, like, let's just do it. You know what I mean? Like
when you know.
When you know.
Yeah.
And so, but we are also big on, we communicate a lot and it's like, okay, well, where are you at with this? Like we're and, it is a very like, you have to go into it with wisdom. I feel like it's still at the end of the day, like your journey is different from everybody else. So like, yeah,
no doubt. Yeah.
So there's a lot of our friends, most of them, if not all of them, already have kids. You know what I'm saying? So that's where sometimes it comes up where it's like, well, I don't want to fall behind and like.
But you guys are doing the wise thing.
Yeah,
it's not like you're talking about like getting a dog or a cat. It's just a whole human being,
which we have like, too. We have both.
And that's actually not. It's so fun. That's actually a good. Like, we had our dog we got our dog like the first year of our marriage. So that was maybe something I wish we would have waited on. But
true.
We got a dog like first year of our marriage. Only reason I say that now is I love our dog. It's just interesting where like you have your pets and then you get kids. And your stock in your pets was so high, like you loved them so much.
Yep.
And it's not like you don't love them anymore. It's just the level of which their importance falls so drastically.
The attention that you spend, all that stuff. Yeah.
It has to. Yeah. But no, you guys are doing it in a great way, man. I think the age thing means zero to me.
That is
honestly.
True.
I think it means so little because you're right. Like, that's the thing I wish more people kind of caught is so many, I've talked about it in so many different like scenarios on this show. And I think you're saying the same thing is like, oftentimes people get so fixated on like, well, this person accomplished this and this and this. And you kind of compare yourself without really thinking about like okay, the journey that one person had to get to be there. But also too, like that's not even my journey. Like this is my life.
Exactly.
I have my own rhythm, and like if it takes you guys, not saying that it would or they're wishing this on you, but it's like if it takes another 3 years or so, it's like you feel right, about bringing a whole life into this world.
And there's exactly. And there's things that like you said in the beginning of it is like, I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to make sure the pace of the marriage is like in a really healthy place. Like if there's things that, not that you're gonna like, you're not going to be in a perfect place at the end of the day, but there are things that I think you can set up and make sure that like, hey, like we need to work on that now before we have kids, or like we need to like tackle this, or, whatever it is that whether it's individual or it's like something that's within the marriage that we need to just like kind of iron out and like just really focus on together right now. Cause obviously like we don't have kids now. So it's like, now's the perfect time to like deal with that stuff and like be intentional. So that way, like, again, like not that when you have kids, you're like, you have arrived, but it's like at least a lot of that stuff, the dynamic, the way that you handle things, like all those things are like already like a foundational, like those beams have already been placed. So it's like whenever you do start to build more of your family, like having kids, like that doesn't mean that those things will never become a problem again, but at least it's like now we've already overcome it. We've already tackled it. We've already really dealt with it and learned how to navigate it. So that way, when we have kids, it really doesn't just bleed fully into that. And like now our kids have a good model and like we can really create. Cause I mean, at the end of the day, like not that I'm like, crapping on my whole like childhood or anything, but it's like, we've all dealt with, we've all had things that we've had to deal with in our families like that. Maybe they didn't model the best or things that didn't happen and all stuff. So it's like, we both come from kind of somewhat dysfunctional points of our, of just with our families. Not that it's all been bad, but it's just like, there's definitely things that like you don't want to repeat and and you want to make sure that doesn't happen in your family, especially as believers, you know what I mean? Like obviously you handle things differently or you should. Yeah. And so anyways, I think like I think it's important to, I mean, just like, it's more about being like aware and intentional about like things that you're wanting to deal with now on this side before having kids. And not that, again, we're not making the decision to not have kids because we're still navigating stuff. It's just, hey, like while we are still waiting and we're still trying to figure out when that might be, like let's not avoid.
We're not pressuring you to have an answer on this show today for sure. Yeah, dude. Two things I got from that. Like one, sitting here at almost 34, I have, there was probably a time, if you asked me this 10 years ago, so like at 24, I would have said maybe been a little bit more like, I don't know, like frustrated or said, oh, like, my parents didn't do this, that, or whatever. But at 34 and now having 3 kids, I have such a respect for my mom and dad, even though they for sure didn't do everything right.
For sure.
But I look back on it and at this age and I can say, dude, they were 20 and 21. Literally. I think somewhere around there. They were like 21-year-olds. Having a baby for the first, like, you know what I mean? And that's like,
in that
looking
generation.
back at pictures, dude, my dad looks so young. My dad looks like he's like 18, like in high school. And like, he wasn't, he was like 21. But, and I think about that and I'm like, man, you did like, it's just a perspective change when you get to the age where you have kids and you're like, oh, I'm also going to mess up. You know, like that's the reality too, coming back to this, where it's like, yeah, you guys are operating in a lot of wisdom of wanting to say, hey, we want to try to have everything as prepared as possible because you want to provide the kids you're going to have someday like a really good life.
Right.
But then there's also the reality of like, you will not fix everything before you have kids. You will still be imperfect, you know? And so it kind of puts you in this season where I'm no kid expert. I would ask a Bill or Pam Mutz or something like that. Like they had 12 and like 300 grandkids or something like that. But I would say my perspective would be like, figure out which ones are like non-negotiables for you guys. And that's what, I think Madeline and I adventured to do and hopefully did well enough for our boys as we're being parents now.
No, absolutely. And I think that's there's a level of humility that has to take place so that, like what you just said, it's like you have to not allow perfectionism to pour over to where you like, because then you'll that's really honestly a lot of times the crippler. It'll just it does cripple, and even for me, like, just not that we're in this segue yet, but with the music, it's
but this is a perfect segue. We should talk about this. Yeah.
But a lot of times, like, you might, for me, there's been times where I didn't put out anything, or I didn't, you get in your head about like, oh, it's not where it's not perfect. It's not, or whatever your idea of perfect is.
Yeah.
And to where now you're actually letting pride in, because now it's a level of, it's actually false humility, because you're downplaying something that could potentially help somebody or just somebody to enjoy it, whatever it is. So it's like, hey, like on the other side of your insecurity of fear, like you're causing yourself to not move forward. And so like that, like, just not to eat up more time about the kid stuff, but it's like, that's where I have to get out of my own head of like, or even like we have to talk about it together, because we both get in our heads about it in just different ways of like, hey, like, but like we could be robbing ourselves of something beautiful. You know what I mean? And whether or not we think it's the right season or not, like that's the other aspect of it too. Is like, are we depending on God or are we depending on self?
Very true. Yeah.
And so I think that's really the battle within that we have to wrestle with every day, and on a plethora of different areas of our lives that where pride tries to seep in.
Yeah. But dude, time can, in a lot of ways, like, it's slow and it's fast. It's all those things, all the cliches that people say. But, we could be sitting here talking about this today, and then this time next year, you guys have a kid. You know what I mean?
Facts.
So like, so it's like, that's just how much things can change and how quickly stuff can happen.
Yeah.
But dude, I would love to talk about like not to just hard pivot, but you brought it up, like the music too. Cause what I've admired and appreciated about you, knowing you for however many years since SCU now and all that, is I've always known you to be someone who is like for me, even just from afar, I've seen you as like like, trying to put this in the right words, I think just like a hustler, like hard worker, dude. Like I've seen you doing so many different things of like, you're volunteering, you're serving, you're being a heavy part of our church, but you're also still like working, grinding on the music that you make. And I appreciate that a lot too, dude. I think that I've had other friends and people that have dreams of music and kind of go through these seasons, and maybe you have, and I just haven't seen it, but like I go through these seasons of like, oh, I'm really about it, and then I'm just not for 10 years. And then I'm like, want to do it, but then you drop it. I don't know. I feel like you have been pretty consistent in what you like doing. So yeah, maybe talk to me a little bit about where you find yourself now in the music game, and then I would love to hear your thoughts on like the creativity aspect of it and all.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, no, I mean, I've definitely found myself in those seasons. I mean, I feel like I've had different moments of just like really just growth when it comes down to what it all looks like for me. And I feel like as an artist, you're trying to find your voice, you're trying to find your niche, whatever it is. Like you're just trying to, I don't want to say identity, but like kind of in a way, it's like you're trying to like, you're not trying to fit the mold of somebody else. You know what I mean? That should never be the goal, obviously, because there's only, you got to be original.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where it could be tough, because as artists, one thing that I struggled with early on was definitely authenticity, because it's like I said, you're trying to find, let's say you're listening to a lot of artists and you're getting a lot of inspiration, and a lot of times that can cause you to, like, if you lean too heavy in it on one side of the pendulum, like you could be sounding like somebody that you're inspired by. That. And I'm not saying that you can't have influence of that person, but it's just like what my struggle was with that early on was I kind of would lean too far. You know what I mean? It would like, to the point where like, I just feel like I wasn't really being myself.
Yeah.
And so,
dude, I can easily see how that could mess it. I listened to country music for too long, and I'm like shopping boots, like,
well, that's the struggle, because it's like, literally I'll listen to like, I'll be listening to one genre of music. I'm like, I want to do that now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I feel like I could do that. And it's like, not that I couldn't, but it's like, is that really like,
I get what you're saying. I
don't know,
even as
like,
a non-artist, if I get in too much of a swing of one type of music, it can really influence like, even my style or whatever.
Exactly.
But I can imagine how it affects music as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially because like you're, I mean, that's pretty much it when it comes to that. Like, I think like, over I would say my SCU days, and then out of that, I would say like when I graduated from Southeastern, like, I feel like that's kind of when I slowly started to kind of like figure out the direction I wanted to go, and what I really enjoyed, and which is like, hip hop or rap, but then it's like it doesn't always just stop there. It's like there's always things that you're trying to do to evolve also within those genres, because music is evolving, and we've seen a lot of artists like do one thing one season, and then they're like maybe adding some different stuff to it, like maybe that they like, and they're just like, oh, I love music and I like what I'm doing, and I'm just going to keep doing it. And if it sticks, it sticks, whatever. But I would say like the challenge of that, like, it just was an ongoing process for me. And where I find myself now is, like, I think I think the thing that I always am conscious about when I'm making music is like, I just want to be the best version of myself, and I want to be as authentic as possible. Yeah. And that's a lot of me is just hyper fixating on like, okay, making sure I'm not like biting anybody, or making sure I'm not like, sounding too much like this one person, and things like that. For me now, it's just a little bit more of and a lot of that probably just like, maturity over the years, and just like, just growing as a person in general, and then that bleeding into my music and stuff. And so, I never want to, at the end of the day, like, I just want to honor God with it. And like, I want to make sure that like what I'm putting out is original and like fresh, what I mean? Even if it does have like, maybe someone's like, oh, I mean, there was one time someone was like, oh, Christian Mac Miller, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I mean, that's a huge compliment.
I'll take that. Sure.
It. Yeah. I mean, like, he's definitely a huge inspiration.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's also the thing is like, I feel like it's going to be really hard for you for anybody to be like, not have some sort of similarities.
You're going to have it.
There's very few artists out there where they're like, oh, they're in a world all their own, or it's not until they're like, oh, what inspired you? And then they start listing artists, and then you're like, oh, I can kind of
hear that, because maybe it wasn't their first knee-jerk person to think of when it came down to that song or that body of work.
Sure.
Yeah, and then it's like you're kind of unpacked.
There's a difference between being like inspired versus like copying, or being like, how could I be like this person because they have success or whatever.
100%.
Dude, I want to hear, I want to get to like the music today, but take me back. Like, what were you always just sort of musically inclined? Like was your family like musical or anything like that? Or
it wasn't until later in my life that my mom actually was telling me that my grandmother, her mom, did opera.
No way.
And yeah,
okay.
and I'm like
similar to what you're doing.
Yeah,
huh?
literally. Still to this day, I'm like, I gotta actually. Like,
That's cool.
You have any you have any clips? You know what I mean? Like I want to. And then my mom did like choir and stuff. So I guess like that, because when I remember I asked, I was like, do we have any like where did this come from? You know what I mean? Like why do I have this like just innate desire to do music? You know what I mean? And so, but it also always didn't like I always loved music, but I wasn't always like, oh, I want to be an artist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know what that looked like even when I was.
You just liked music.
I just liked music, and then over time, like as I got a little older, I had some friends that at the church that I was going to when I first got saved. They were huge into it, and I was like, I feel like I could maybe do that. You know what I mean?
Was it always like hip hop and rap?
Yeah, it was always hip hop and rap, and then it eventually. I mean, not that that's all I listened to. I mean, I listened to a lot of like Blink-182, Three Doors Down, 3 Days Grace, Slipknot, like.
Who didn't in the early 2000s?
Avril Lavigne, you know what I mean?
My first ever concert was Slipknot.
Was it really?
Yeah,
no doubt. Crazy.
Yeah. First ever.
It's
concert.
Actually kind of crazy because like it wasn't when me and Monica met. Like we had a lot of very similar taste in music. I mean, not that she has still some different. We're still kind of sometimes on polar opposite ends, but because she's not really big into rap. But I remember one time like we were in the car and I like randomly put on like I think I even put on a Slipknot song just like for like it randomly came to my mind like, oh yeah, I forgot I used to listen to that stuff.
Yeah.
Because when you're not like listening to it now, like you're not like it's not in the rotation right now. So it's like
every now and then,
a memory, a core memory unlocked, and then you go back and then you play it. She's like, what? She's like going crazy in the car, and like I'm like, yeah, like I used to listen to this stuff, and it's just funny.
Yeah, dude, it's cool. Like, yeah, it's. I look back on like for me too, like even with music, it just stems from like I am somewhat like I've played guitar and I've sang before and do stuff like that. Like I was in a band when I was in high school and all that.
Oh shit, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, it was fun. Like we did like real heavy metal. Like that was kind of the scene at the moment,
okay.
Like real hardcore kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And dude, I was into that stuff before that. Like my dad growing up was like really into like punk music and reggae. It was kind of like the mix there. It was like those two. And so I listened to a lot of that. Yeah. My first ever like hip hop album. I don't remember dude, I think I remember. Maybe I do. But I for sure had All Eyes on Me. Like that was like one of my first ones. And then I had a Biggie one too.
Okay.
Like I got it from like the guys that worked at my dad's shop, like gave it to me.
Crazy.
And I like hid them in the back of my CD case,
That's hilarious.
But yeah, that was like my first. What was your first like, oh, this is hip hop. This is what I want to do.
Man. Well, it like I said, it didn't, it didn't happen pre-Christ. Pre-Christ was more, I was listening to a lot of like stuff that probably shouldn't be listening to, you know what I mean? Not good for the ears, but it's just what I was rocking. I don't know. It's kind of hilarious, like thinking back to the music. I literally remember having a Chingy album.
Yeah.
Lil Wayne for sure. And then Eminem, who wasn't listening to that. And then I don't know, like it's a little foggy as far as memory goes. I will say that like towards the end of that, like before accepting Christ, I remember like Wiz Khalifa, Mac Miller, J. Cole.
And it was that time.
Those were the 3 top artists that I think I was just like really heavy rotation as far as just like listening to. Cause I used to skateboard too. So like those were kind of my, popping headphones, you're at the skate park, and you're just
zoned out,
you know what I mean? And so, but I do remember when I accepted Christ, back in 2010, I want to say the first 2 artists I remember just Googling one time, I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm not listening to that stuff no more. And so like, I remember Googling like Christian hip hop artists, top, whatever Christian hip hop. And it was Lecrae. That was the first one that popped up. And then this guy named Braille. I don't know if you know who that is, but those 2 artists, I don't know, just the style of hip hop was very like, I just thought I was like, wow, like there's actually really good Christian music out there. You know what I mean? And so, and then that's just kind of like unfolded to like other artists. Cause then like there's other featured artists with those artists and on songs. And you're like, you just kind of,
got into that world.
You got into that world a little bit. And so like for me, that was kind of a lot of my influence. I still had a little bit of influence with the secular because that's all I listened to during that time. So that still was like inspiration that bled into it as far as like creativity, lyric ability, if that's even a word.
We just made it one.
Yeah, we just did. You already know. Creative. Hey, come on. And so, yeah, man, like I would just say that like from that moment on, I mean, I just started writing. I didn't know anything about song structure.
That's cool though.
A lot of run-on sentences for sure, but I was just writing. I was just
because you were passionate about
it. And then also too, I didn't realize, but it was, the thing that unlocked for me was it was a way for me to really, which I know a lot of artists will relate to, it was an escape. You know what I mean? You're able to talk about things that you might not have been able to talk about, or you didn't really know how to communicate it until you found that outlet. Like writing music was something I was like, wow, like it's helping me put the pieces together a little bit. Cause sometimes like someone will say something, you're like, wow, like they said exactly what I was like. I couldn't put a finger on it. Like I couldn't really like articulate it, but they did it for me.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's what music does. Like you hear a song, you're like, man, that's like literally exact. Like they put the words, what I've been dealing with, or whatever it is. And so it's like, I've figured out that was what my outlet was and how I can do that for myself.
Cool. Yeah.
It wasn't the best and it wasn't the most structured, but it was like a start, you know what I mean? And so that's kind of where it all started, man.
Obviously, like now we're kind of years down the road, two of you first starting into music, but I'm sure everybody has their own process and all that kind of stuff. What does like the creative process for you, like look like? I'm always intrigued by this because, for me, like this is like this podcast and this stuff is like my creative outlet. For sure. I feel like now this has been,
but you still got to tell me how it all started. Cause I'm curious.
Okay. Yeah. I'll answer that real quick. It's funny, dude, is when we moved to Pennsylvania, kind of long story short, and not to get like we had a family there and all this kind of stuff, but like we didn't have like a ton of community there, and I would do these like 30-minute drives to work there and then 30 minutes back, and then sometimes for the job I did, I'd have to I was working at this kind of correctional school, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
I'd have to take kids home, and they lived like up the mountain, and then I'd drive home, and it'd be like an hour and a half. And I just got to a point where I was like, I discovered podcasts, and that was like not even that. I mean, that was like 2021.
Yeah.
And so I just started listening to podcasts, and honestly, I started because both of our friend Wayne, I knew he had one, and I was like, oh, I've never actually I've always like known Wayne. I've never actually listened to his show.
Sure.
So I'll start listening to it, and I listened to that, and I picked up a couple others, and regardless, I was like, oh man, I love this, and I loved it not just because it's like I think for me, it was less of like, oh, I feel like people need to hear my voice, which is actually the opposite of why I think I'm doing this show. I think it's more of like, I just really love conversations. Like, I love that. Like, I love, honestly, a little bit of this now is kind of like a lost art. Like, I think that was when I first started this. Somebody asked me a similar question. I was like, yeah, I just felt like this isn't me trying to be like overly deep or anything like that. But you just go into a coffee shop now and everybody puts their head into their phone. They order their coffee and then they bounce and they don't talk to anybody. Dude, when I first started working at a Starbucks, like back in 2012 or 13, like before I ever moved to Southeastern, it was like kind of pre like the big social media boom, I think. At least for me it was.
Right.
And dude, everybody just talked. Like nobody was on their phone. People would sit at the bar at a Starbucks. This wasn't even like a local coffee shop. And I loved that.
And that's that was even the culture at SCU too.
Yeah.
100%. Like you're in passing on your way to class. You're like, even honestly, I mean, I was there before Portico was even a thing. You know what I mean? So it was like, you're always kind of
just a lobby.
There's a lot of, it was like a lot, like literally having conversations, like whether you're like out on El Prado walking around, you're just like, you just bump into someone, maybe you're, leaving class or something. And you just I remember one time leaving class and just, I'm standing there for like half an hour talking, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh shoot, like I got to get to my next class, So it was just like, it was almost like just a very natural, like, it just felt normal.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
You know what I mean?
And that was honestly a big motivator for me. I was like, oh, this feels like it would be a fun thing to do. It would be like a creative outlet for me. It's something I enjoy, and I miss this. I miss like that feeling of, dude, like we just chat, like we just talk, and people, like, dude, I was listening to people's conversations. Obviously, there's the big ones out there, like the Rogans and like all those other shows that people listen to, but not even just trying to emulate. Like, I'm sure a lot of people are like, love the Joe Rogan podcast, all that stuff, but just like what he even does is like just find somebody unique. Obviously, he's got a pretty big pool of people he can pull from too that are like.
Have you checked out Ruslan's Bless God podcast?
Yeah, you know what? Somebody brought that up to me like
good.
Not that long ago, and I haven't listened to one yet, but I've heard a lot about him.
He's dope for sure.
Yeah, but there's a lot of good ones out there, dude, and that's just the thing where it's like, I too enjoy like just hearing people's conversations and hearing that because yeah, like right now. There's not a lot of that happening. It makes me worried for like, I know this is going on a longer tangent here, but it does make me worried for like our future generation. Like, I think the best thing I got last year for Christmas was that brick thing. Have you seen it?
I don't think so.
They're not even a sponsor of the show. I hope they do become one day. But it's like this little square thing that you can like tap your phone to, and it closes out all your apps. And the only way to open up, it closes out the apps you want it to close.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So like social media and stuff like that.
Like
and you can choose, like if you just want it to be like a dumb phone or whatever, it just calls and texts and all that. You can tap it, and then the only way to get it unbricked is like you tap your phone again to it. So like you leave, there's crazy. No way for you to get back on social media. And dude, it's been so good.
That's crazy.
We just went on a family vacation for a week, and my wife, like Madeline and I, we both bricked our phones, didn't look at social media once the entire week.
Dang.
So like, what do? You talk to each other. You like hang out with your family, you know?
Yeah.
Like everybody's can succumb to the like doom scrolling, you know?
We all subject ourselves to it. One of the things that I love that we do is we go on a lot of walks. Like after work, she's big into we're both big into fitness, but she's like, I got to get my 10,000 steps in.
Good for her. Yeah.
Literally. And I'm like, I'll do it with you. I mean,
yeah,
like whatever. But it's great for me. I like it the most, or what I like the most about us going on those walks is it's a chance for us to not be on our phones. We're outside and we get to communicate. Not that we don't communicate at home, but you have more distractions at home.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Totally,
and we're both creatives. And so it's you know how it is. Like you can get a little OCD or not OCD, but ADD with it when you're in the house and you feel like I got to do this, I got to do that.
Yeah.
When you're outside, you got your phone on you, but you don't have it in your hand, and you're just talking.
Yeah, dude. The thing that I wish I could like sometimes like shake people and tell them, and honestly, I probably need the shaking and telling at times too.
100%
is like that like you don't need your phone on you
100%.
Nonstop. Like you 100%. Do not need it. Like that's the thing I sometimes where I'm like, oh well, what if somebody calls me or like, you know, like I work remotely and I love my job, what I do, and sometimes I can kind of like get off a little early. You know what I mean? I've done my work for the day. And there's that temptation, like, oh, well, I got to have my phone on me, whatever. It's like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
Nobody needs you that badly.
For sure.
If you were away from your phone for 20 minutes.
Right. 100%.
And I think that's the good thing people need to know. It's like, it's a great tool to have. Don't like throw your phone away, but moderation is huge.
Exactly. Yeah. Moderation. I mean, there's a practicality to it, but there's also a level of like overconsumption. And so I think even for me, like, during the week, it's kind of important for me. Not that it doesn't happen all the time throughout the week, but one part of my job at Spriggs is we have a supplier overseas, and so because of the time difference, there are times where like between like 9:30 at night and like 11 p.m., I have to sometimes just make sure that like. Because if I have through WhatsApp or an email come through from them because there's something in production or there's a level of communication because there's a relationship there, and I have to make sure that I'm on top of it, because if I don't respond right then and there, I have to wait a whole nother 24 hours just to get
because that's their work time.
Exactly, that's their work time, and I'm on salary anyway, so it's like it just is what it is. Like, not that I'm complaining about it. I think it's just more of like that's the level of like that's where there's a difference of like, okay, like, is it work related or is it like, because we have a big thing like in the house where like, not that you can't be on your phone, obviously, like past a certain time, but if we're spending time with each other, like we gotta kind of have it like not really near.
Yeah.
But like I said, I have it close because then she knows like if I do get a message, like I kind of do need to respond to it.
But you've already, like, it already sounds like you guys have adapted to it. It's like, yeah, we go on walks. You know, you go on walks where you leave your phone, then you come back and you kind of know this. 100%, dude. That's the big, anyways, this was a long tangent for us to go. That's why I did this show, is because I genuinely enjoy it doing this, like just sitting down with people, talking about what, you know, makes them unique and what they love and all that stuff. But also I just think it's good for people to hear. And that's honestly why I think that podcasts are booming. And I think people are tuning into more and more. And like, whether, I guess I'd consider mine maybe more local. Like, it's been blessed. Like, there's people all around that are listening to it, but for most part, it's probably Central Florida-ish.
Yeah.
But like, is that you just want to know about people around you. Yeah. And sometimes you're not able to do that, you know?
100%.
So yeah, that's why I did this. Now going back to the original question what's your creative process of like the putting yourself in a place where it's like, hey, this is how I'm going to like start to write a new song. Get into that headspace.
Yeah, that's a big loaded question because it definitely varies. You know, there's been times where a song will, like, I'll hear something without even hearing anything. It's weird. It's like there's so many, there's like, it's like a tree. The tree is like the creative process, and there's a lot of branches that you're not just like limited to one way of doing it, right? And I think that's just how creatives are in general. You know, I'm blessed to know a guy. He's a really good friend of mine. He's the one that, his name's Justin. He produces my music. He lives about half hour, 45 minutes from here. But he's somebody that, and I think this is, you got to have people in your life like this that really just pull the best out of you. Like even in those moments of creatively, or like, you know, something that maybe you didn't know was there. And a lot of times we'll just get together kind of like in a setting like this, where it's like, yeah, he's producing, but it's just like it's just a hangout sesh of like coming up with new ideas. But also there's times where like he'll play something, I'll have a melody in my head, and then like next thing you know, like 30, 45 minutes later, like a song's done. You know what I mean? And it's just like this amazing, like, how did we even do this? Like there's like literally we're like, what the heck? Like a whole, it like, and a lot of times that's how it can be that way. But then there's also times again where it's the opposite. I'll be in the studio and we're like, ain't nothing happening. You know what I mean? But I mean, I would say like, it just depends. I mean, sometimes I'll hear a melody, or I'll put it in my voice memo, or a lyric will come to my mind, or, you know, and sometimes I'm like, God, I just feel like you're blessing me with these lyrics. Like, I don't know, like they're just kind of coming out of thin air. But again, like, I think like God puts that creativity in us. Like if that's a gift that he's given you, and you work it out, right? You stretch it out. You have to be able to, it's a level of stewardship. It's like anything else, like going to the gym, you're working out the muscle. And you know, where I'm at now, I think that I've learned what helps and what also is like, again, like there's times where like I'm not maybe creating, but like, again, like an idea will pop in my head randomly. Like I'll be in the shower, I'll be doing dishes, I'll be doing just random activities, and I'll just have, or even just an idea of a song, you know what I mean? And then from there, an idea, like a theme, maybe something I want to talk about. And then that unlocks the lyrics. Like I'll have a theme, and then like, again, you know, my producer will either make something for me when I'm not there, or we'll be in the studio and we'll just be working on it. We'll both be bouncing ideas off of each other. And I think that's where you need people around you to do that with, you know what I mean? That's a safe place that you're not going to be judged, or you're going to be challenged too. You know what I mean? Where it's like, there's things that I've done on songs that are not released yet, where it's more melodic and I'm singing more. Yeah. And I'm like, I've never thought I'd do that. You know what I mean? Like,
that's got to be such like a for lack of a better word, like, I think this is the right one, like liberating feeling. It's to like be in a creative room with someone where it's like, I can say what I need to say and it's not going to be judged as like, oh, that's a stupid idea.
Yeah,
or that's
exactly.
bad. Like, that
right.
sucks, whatever.
100%.
It's just like, yeah, we're just trying to get all ideas out
exactly.
right now, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I know that's like, that feels sometimes like counterculture to what typically the world is, but it's like getting in those places is where you probably create some of the best material, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, it's also like you're challenging yourself to, I try to look at a lot of things through the consumer lens. Not that I don't create things just for myself.
Yeah.
But I do think of it like when I hear something, like what I enjoy this as like a consumer, like, you know what I mean? Like if somebody is listening to it, and again, music is subjective. So not everybody's going to like it or want to listen to it or whatever. Like, you know, hopefully at least one person will, but, I try to approach it that way because I'm like, okay, cool. Like, in one season, I might not have been intentional about like, okay, is the whole song sound like just like one linear thing? Or is there a lot of like, is there a switch up? Is there add some flavor to it? Is the second verse going to be different than the first verse? So that way, like it's like still in the pocket, but it's different enough to where it doesn't lose people. You know what I mean? It's kind of like anything that has to do with marketing too. It's like anything that has a creative like aspect to it. Like the goal is to make sure that you don't lose people. You know what I mean? And I think like, you know, and again, that's trial and error. Like, I mean, I'm not just some music expert either, even though I do this and I've come a long way with it. There's still a lot for me to learn. I'm still growing as an artist. But that's something that I try to challenge myself. So it's like, what can I do different that's not completely out of my wheelhouse? But then also, like, is this a complete song to where, like, it's just well thought out all the way through? And again, sometimes it sticks. Sometimes it's like, I'll hear something that I've done, and I'm like, I think it's okay. Right. You know what I mean? Whether or not I put it out, I don't know. I mean, I think I should probably still put it out. That's what I always hear a lot of bigger artists do. They're like, just put it out. Just put out the song. And I'm like, have you heard the song though? At least in my perspective, I don't think it's done yet. And then
I'm sure there's there's pros and cons to both of that, dude. You know, I feel like in my world here to get the podcast stuff, it's so different. Like there have definitely been interviews in this where I didn't feel like I was at my best, but I still put it out. But I mean, I get the difference there very much though. Like what I also understand about what you were saying makes sense. It's like, yes, there's a creative element to where like, this is my expression and this is my creativity and how I'm putting a song together. But there's also the reality is like, I'm making this for people to also understand, like maybe who've also experienced a similar thing to this or can relate to this song. And it's like, if I just go as bananas as possible 100%. And being this like my own weird creative project and I just lose everybody else, did I actually hit the mark?
Well, and that's why I brought up it going back all the way to the authenticity thing in the beginning. Excuse me. Is if I can be as authentic as possible, like I really don't have anything to worry about because at the end of the day, I'm just being myself. Like I'm being like, I could lay my head down at night and be like, yeah, like I just gave it my all and it was, that was me, you know what I mean? And so that's also a level of it too, where it's like, I went into the studio or I wrote this song or I did this thing. I just put all of me out there on it or on the table, whatever, however you want to explain it. Yeah. And I just did my best, you know what I mean, at the end of the day. And then it's like, okay, even if I don't feel like it's my best, at least I gave it everything, you know what I mean? Right. And I think that's also important too, because you're growing, just like you said, like you might've done episodes where you didn't feel like maybe you didn't do the best, or maybe you weren't on your game or whatever the factors are that maybe caused that or caused you to feel that way. At the end of the day, like you just have to keep moving forward. You just have to keep growing from that. And actually I was going to ask you, like, do you feel like you're a perfectionist as well? Or do you feel like you're kind of like,
dude, in some ways, yes. Like I think the whole journey to the start of this show was a little bit of that. Like I'm proud of the way I started it. I'll say that. Like I'm grateful. And a lot of it is also like my wife pushes me in a very like positive way. And so I'm so grateful for that. But I had this idea, like it was like kind of New Year's resolutions. I told Madeline, I was like, I don't know when, but this year I'm going to start it. Like I had already talked about it before. I want to do a podcast, all that. Like this year I'm going to start it. And we had talked about it together and we both agreed, like, I'm not going to start this unless I do it right.
Right.
Like I'm not just going to have like, not to knock the iPhone, but it's like iPhone quality of just me like recording like voice memos and somebody like, I want it to sound good and I want it to have like a cool like graphic and name and all this sort of stuff. And honestly, the huge part of it is I also been blessed with like incredible friendships, like some of the dudes at the Florida Man Show and like some like Chase Wagner who wrote like my opening like hook and all that sort of stuff.
That's
But
dope.
so I've had incredible friends who've helped build, and then Gordon Choate also too, who made like the graphics and all that sort of stuff. So all of them been on the show. But
that's dope.
But yeah, I feel like at the very beginning it was a pro and a con, because like at the very beginning, like the show started off very professional, like it had the great look and all that sort of stuff. But there's also the reality too, and this actually will lead me to a question for you. I started off with like, in my pursuit for like trying to be perfect, my first couple of episodes, and you could probably go back and hear it, but I had every single question written out. Like I had everything I wanted to say almost like written out to a T, and I had kind of gone back and forth with like the people I was interviewing. And when I listened back to it, I was like, you know, I was proud of like the first couple of episodes, and the guests are awesome. So it's not a knock on the guests at all. It's on me. Is like, it just felt less of like a conversation like this, where you and I, like, none of this.
It felt less natural. You think?
None of this you and I prepared.
Right.
We just said, let's talk, and we just hit record. And
I know. I'm like on the way here. I'm like, I don't know what we're talking. I mean, I have an idea.
And we've been talking for about an hour now. So, but like so you can kind of just feel there's something about the human nature, I feel like, or just us, where we can like hear something and it's like, it just doesn't feel.
Oh, it's like natural, if it's too prepared, it's like it can sometimes come off ingenuine,
like a job interview.
Yeah, it's like you're
what it sounds
rehearse, and then it's like then there's this pressure that now you got to perform what you rehearsed so perfectly.
Yeah.
To the point where like now you kind of sound like it's forced.
Yeah, but there was a point at some point during the first maybe 20 or so episode, whatever, that I just started to notice like I had a question queued up to ask the person that had nothing to do with what they just talked about. And it was like, do I just hard pivot? And like, I wouldn't do that in a normal conversation.
Right.
Do I just hard pivot to something else? Or do I flow off of that? And actually, dude, what this has helped me out a lot in is like the mental game of like thinking of a next question, but also listening at the same time. And then if somebody says something interesting, you're like, oh, I want to journey on that. So I'm going to drop my old question and pick up on that now, you know? But anyways, yeah, man, I do feel like it's led me to, there's pros of being a perfectionist, but also I want to be free in a sense of like, this just needs to feel more natural. I'd be curious for you, like, how do you in music, like kind of escape the lure of like, oh, this has to be perfect, you know?
That's a great question. I think there's a mental, like, how do I explain it? Like you just have to get over yourself. Like you have to, like, or I guess the better way of saying it, you have to move yourself to the side so that way it can pass through you. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you're gonna be your own worst critic at the end of the day. But again, I always tie it back into pride. Like, how can I, like, you can, I mean, at least for me, like I can recognize when the pride kind of comes up. And a lot of times it can disguise itself as humility, but it's really not. It's just false humility. And I think that's what helps is like, it's not that I don't think it's good. Like whatever I made, there's a differentiation of like, okay, I could do better, or like something's sounding off to me and I need to go back to that thing versus a completed song or whatever it is I just made. And like, I'm just being hypercritical on it. Maybe because it's so vulnerable and I'm putting it out there and I hope that it digests well, or it actually, you spend all this time and energy and money on the song and you just want it to do so well. So you think that if you don't put it out, you're not, there's no risk.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I see what you're
it's
saying,
like, but if I do put it out, regardless if it does well or not, I'm like, at least I'd put it out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, I don't know. Again, this is just a random analogy, but it's like, imagine like you're a paint, you paint, you paint this awesome piece that you know, whatever, but you're like, I don't know. And you got this gallery, you go and maybe nobody stops and looks at it. But maybe it's because there's so much art that's at that gallery that it's that's the way I look at music. It's like I feel like the industry is so oversaturated with music content, social media, all that stuff, right? People are posting daily, hourly right now. There's probably millions of posts going out. So it's like, do I get hung up on, oh, well, there's already so many other artists out there, maybe I just don't put it out? That's ridiculous. It's like, yeah, but like, you don't even know who it's reaching.
100%. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're becoming that dude in the Bible with the one talent that buried it. Yeah. So it's like, now you're not being obedient to God. You're also relying on your own understanding, not God. All that is pride. So it's like, now you're in this place of like, you're just holding on to it. Right. Yeah. And you're not being generous. When you're at church and you give an offering, you don't know the impact it's making or not. That $1, okay, yeah, maybe you're not loaded and you're throwing $100,000 in the bucket, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, like, you're called to steward it. God calls us to be what he says, I love a cheerful giver. Yeah. So that's not just with money, it's with your resources, it's with your talents. So if you can get over yourself and you can operate out of that place of humility where you're like, Lord, I don't know what's going to happen with this song or with this podcast or with this painting or drawing. All I know is that my focus is going to be on trusting in you, being authentic, being the person you called me to be, and just putting it out there. And then if it sticks, it sticks. If not, all right, cool. I'm going to keep I'm going to keep creating. Yeah. I'm going to keep growing in this gift. I'm going to keep going after it. Because why? Because, well, it should get, if you're doing it for the right reasons, then there should be joy that comes from it too.
100%. Yeah.
And so that's kind of really I don't want to say like, my equation with it. It's just like, I stopped worrying so much. Not that I don't at times, I'm human, but I just enjoy doing it. Like, I just enjoy creating good content. And being, and telling more of my story, like being vulnerable in my music, sharing things that maybe I went through or like that I've experienced, and trying to make good music out of that. Yeah. For people to listen to. And hopefully they enjoy it as well. So
yeah. And dude, even what came to my mind when you were saying that too, is like, even to finish that parable out of like the hidden talent, it's like, you have no idea when the master comes back and you present back those talents and he doubles them.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the reality too here is like, you're stewarding something right now that it has to be something that you feel like, either like, hey, this is something I feel like God has called me to. It's also something I enjoy. It's something that gives me life. And it's not a burden on myself or my family. It's just, again, it's like a life-giving thing. Yep. And who knows the day in which like there's one song that pops off, one episode that goes like viral or whatever.
Yeah, or you get some crazy guest on your podcast that like, you just never know.
I think there's just, it's good to always be in any season, and this is not easy. So I'm definitely not trying to act like prideful or anything like that and say like I've mastered it, but just to be grateful for what you have in the moment and how it's going. Cause dude, even now,
that's true.
I look at the stats every day. I try not to look at the stats of this show very often, but sometimes I do. I check it out to see how it's going, and I'm always like, so far from the show, I've been blown away in like, from who's listening, because I always go back to, I'm like, man, this is like an hour-long plus show. True. That somebody's giving me their time. Like, and the podcast world, I'm like, that's what's crazy to me. Like, I'm sure there's the contrast there for music where it's like sometimes 3 to 5 minutes-ish, but like to sit here and journey for me for an hour, dude, I'm just grateful that anybody would like take that time.
Well, I mean, like, I think there's a lot of people like us out there, more than we think, that relate to the same type of stuff. And, it's refreshing to hear it, from maybe somebody that haven't heard it before or that they don't know. And we're like, wow, like that's kind of like, I'm kind of think the same way, you know what I mean? And so I think there's there's more relatability than I think we give ourselves credit for, or for those things that we're doing. And we're just trying to do our best to like, even on a setting like this, to like externally process it, with things that like maybe we don't really talk about often, on the process or things like that. You know what I mean? Nobody's just randomly, hey man, how's the process with music? And it's like, because sometimes it is like, well, it is a loaded question. So it's like, it does take something maybe sometimes like this to unpack it, in a,
but it's cool too, because it gives people a deeper respect. That's what I hope people listening to this show and like maybe would go back and listen to some of your music, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But like, is to understand that it's not just like, oh, I threw this out there just for fun, I did this in a day. It's like there's a whole process to like what you've built, and even like the music you're putting out today is just building on the years of you growing in music and in that stuff, Yeah.
Looking back, I mean, even there's times where I'll look back on one of the first songs I put out, or body of work that I put out there, compared to like now. And it's just like, it's cool to see the growth. It's cool to see like your own journey with like, just your sound, your voice, and just like, it's encouraging. You know what I mean? I think like you should never, and I think that's the beauty of like not waiting to put out something. It's just like, no, just keep putting it out, because there is a long journey of like growth that you'll be able to see in yourself too. Yeah. And maybe other people too, that maybe they're discovering it or whatever it is. And they look back on it and be like, oh, that, maybe in your mind you think it's cringe, but like, it's more about the bigger picture of like, nah, like it's just, you got to start somewhere. You know what I mean? Dude. And you should never wait until quote unquote you've got it in the bag, to where you're, now finally like releasing something. Because again, like anything else, like we've talked about with like any place in life, you're not gonna just arrive and be like, I've made it. I've figured it out. It's like, no, like you got to remain, humble in those times.
And I bet for you and I both, and for people who do similar stuff, like you have oftentimes very little idea about how many people are like watching you, but just admiring for the fact that, dude, there are, millions and millions of people in the world. And there are so many people who have a similar dream of like, oh, it'd be cool to do music someday. It'd be cool to do a podcast. It'd be cool to do this, that, or whatever. And just never actually like go and do it.
Right.
And so like to see someone like you or like whoever going after that dream, that's inspiring. To like maybe hear this episode and somebody's been listening to this episode and like, has had that, desire to step out and do their own music and stuff like that, to just be like, oh man, maybe I should just like start taking voice memos of the songs that come into my head, like little ideas like that, dude. I think about, there's still random, even podcasts or books or songs or whatever that I think about, that like little moments like that inspire me to this day.
It's like, it's like pull out your phone. what I do is I'm writing notes, lyrics, coming, whatever, like just, it's kind of, you never know when you'll be in a place to where now you can finally bring it to life. So if you have an idea or something's coming to you, like you just got to write it down. It could be messy. It doesn't have to be this perfect like thing. You know what I mean? Like I said, when ideas come to me, like I'm not just like, I don't finish out the thought a lot of times. It's just like, I like that. Write it down. Idea, write it down. Theme, write it down. Melody, voice memo. It don't matter if I can sing or not, just do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like just try to
just have it.
Just have it in like with you, or just do it. So that way you have it with you for if you do get to a setting where it's like, you're able to really like, work on it maybe professionally or whatever. And like, now you have all these ideas and things that you can maybe even sometimes piece together. Maybe you didn't think that they would go good together at first until you actually, look back on them and,
That's awesome, man. But dude, before we do head out here for the show today, I do want to talk about like music that you guys maybe, is there anything like most recent that you have that's come out, or are you kind of working on any projects right now?
Yeah, I actually just dropped a song last Friday.
Oh, nice, dude. Okay. What's it called?
It's called Free.
Free. Okay.
And so it's it's one of my favorite songs that I've done. I've actually had to do it's an older one that I actually redid. This was like 2 years ago when I redid it. So I finally put it out. And so, I mean, it's, available on all platforms. And the reason why it took me so long to put it out was because I had this, again, not that I'm dipping into the perfectionism thing, but I told myself that like, if I was going to put out anything moving forward during that season, I want to make sure it's calculated, because I think it's important. There is a level of preparation that you should have, whether it's like content, videos, and what I decided on was like, whatever I put out moving forward, I want it to be very well thought out. Like I want it to be intentional, and and I don't think there's anything wrong with like having like if you know you're going to release some music or some songs, like get all the videos done first, so that way when you are planning for the release, you have all this content to put out behind it. And so anyways, it took me a while to release it. Like I had other songs that I had put out beforehand as well, that I was just trying to be, calculated with it. But yeah, no, I mean, I have the music video is also up on YouTube.
Nice. Can you send it to me so we could play it as the outro of this episode?
The song?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be sick.
You can do that?
Do I just send the link?
Yeah, we'll figure it out after this. We'll figure it out after this. But hopefully at the end of this episode, it's going to go straight into your new song, Free. We'll make that happen. But dude, I'm excited for it, man. Well, dude, hey, this has honestly been so fun. It's been great to get just reconnected after so long. Absolutely. But also, man, I love the conversations on just, I think that maybe as hopefully nobody takes this, you and I maybe take this as little. I think these are like great conversations to have just about the creative process and just about life in general. And so, dude, I loved having you on, man.
No, same, man. I appreciate you, bro, for having me.
For sure.
Hey, 1 2 1 2. Groovy. If you looking for a way out, I got what you need. Right here is an escape route. If you trying to leave this world just for a little bit, come take a trip with me. Listen to my voice, this can set you free. Let it all go, clear out your mind. You wanna know how? Well, right here you'll find a way to get this weight up off your chest. For the meantime, I've done it all. The music is by far the best each time. Hey, what would life be like without this music? These symphonies are simply what I be using to escape the stresses of the world that we live in. Sometimes I ask myself, are we really living? Yo, this life that I've been given's been a blessing and a curse. And if you say you know my pain without me addressing it first, put your feet in my shoes, let's see if you do. I know some people that scared to receive help from a church, man. I know there can be some pros and cons and ups and downs. No one is perfect, you should know that by now. I mean, take a glimpse at the life of your own. You go out every night and you barely come home. You got a newborn with your wife, next minute he gon' be grown. Don't be like your deadbeat dad who left you there all alone. Kids around the world suffer with that on the daily now. So man up and stand up and take care of your baby child. If you looking for a way out, I got what you need. Right here is an escape route. If you trying to leave this world just for a little bit, come take a trip with me. Listen to my voice, this can set you free. Let it all go, clear out your mind. You wanna know how? Well, right here you'll find a way to get this weight up off your chest. For the meantime, I've done it all. The music is by far the best each time. Hey, what would life be like without this music? These symphonies are simply what I be using to heal the scars and bruises of my heart and my soul. I'm under the influence. This is my sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I plug in my headphones and close my eyes, and then I'm vibing to a rhythm, paint a picture so vivid in my mind. I jot these thoughts down line by line, then I disperse them when I rhyme. Always searching but never find what I'm looking for. A part of me just says don't look no more, but I can't help but explore. This is coming from my core. Life is a mystery, don't know what I'm in it for. Everyone is equal, coming from a different source, so it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. Your heart is broken, sick, and needs a stitch, looking for a quick fix, restore. And yo, your pocket's empty, can't afford to hit the stores. Nobody understands you, so you wishing for, hoping that they listen more. It's like I can't stop sinning, Lord, inside these deadly waters, trying to swim the shore, looking for my treasure that sits below. I'm sure one day I'll find it if I keep on trying. This whole time I've been rhyming about my destiny on my way, so I just steady rock to these melodies and have the mindset if it happens then it's meant to be. But most people that say that just stay at the same place for centuries and never reach the ecstasy. If you looking for a way out, I got what you need. Right here is an escape route. If you trying to leave this world just for a little bit, come take a trip with me. Listen to my voice, this can set you free. Let it all go, clear out your mind. You wanna know how? Well, right here you'll find a way to get this weight up off your chest. For the meantime, I've done it all. The music is by far the best each time.